Two lines, two in the back. There's two lines, so there's three in the back and three in the front. Give me your flag.
I'll go turn it.
You guys can go stand with the chorus now.
All the way out across the front. Liam, you were in the front here.
Good morning, Milton. Good morning, Milton. I need a couple volunteers, and as everyone knows, in the military, volunteers. So you got a couple of young people who want to come up and hand out some of the programs to someone else? Got a couple here? Anybody?
Couple of them.
Got a couple of volunteers? No?
Good to see you again, yes. You get to hear it twice.
Oh, future sailors. Don't volunteer. Okay, up, here we go. Awesome stuff. Hand these out, one per person, okay? Awesome, there we go, you share. Awesome stuff. Yep. So welcome, Milton, to our Veterans Day ceremony here today in Milton. As you can see, the weather cooperated. I'm so glad it does because this is an awesome day. Milton gets to come out today and remember our veterans. And we do it as a community, and that's the great part of it. So we're going to start out with the color guards posting the colors. Milton High Chorus will perform our national anthem, and they'll follow that with Lift Every Voice and Sing. All set with the national anthem? Yep.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
Good job by our Milton High Chorus. We couldn't hold the ceremony without them. Their voices lend such great heart to our ceremonies here, and we really appreciate the effort of these students because they have to do a lot of practicing to make it that good. So thank you. We'll now have the Milton Girl Scouts who lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Where's my Girl Scouts? Come on up front. Come on up. I need you on the stage right here, right in front. Awesome stuff. Get around so everyone can see your smiling faces. All right, you ready? Couple more. Get them in there. All right, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead, girls. Lead us in.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ceremony without the Girl Scouts. It literally is the awesome sauce that makes this ceremony kick off. So thank you, Girl Scouts. You are welcome to be our Pledge of Allegiance group every year. We'll now have the invocation by Reverend R.G. Wilson Lyons, First Congregational Church, Milton.
Let us pray. O God of us all, we come before you this day with hearts full of gratitude and reverence. We give thanks for all those who have served our country, who have stood in the gap and answered the call to protect and to defend. We honor their courage, their sacrifice, and the burden that they have borne and still continue to bear. We also acknowledge the deep pain, the lives lost, the families torn, the wounds that remain unseen. We pray for those who still carry the scars of battle, for those whose memories are marked by loss and trauma. Grant them comfort and strength and surround them with a community that offers love, care, and support. May we recommit ourselves to honoring all veterans by making sure they are cared for in whatever way they need. May we stand in the gap for them, just as they have stood in the gap for us. We offer these prayers in the name of the one who calls us to love one another. Amen.
Start with acknowledgement of our dignitaries. And of course, the first acknowledgement is for the people of Milton, especially our veterans, who give my office and my mission here great support every day. So I want to say thank you first and foremost to the most important people in Milton, our veterans and our residents who make sure the veterans get taken care of. Thank you so much. Senator Walter Timilty, our new senator presently, but our new clerk of courts elect, will assume the new duties. He'll be here with us later. Representative William Driscoll, Senator-elect Driscoll now, of course. Representative Fluker Oakley, Richard G. Wells, Jr., Chairman of the Milton Select Board, and our new representative-elect. Roxanne Musto, Vice Chair of the Select Board. Erin G. Bradley, Select Board member. John Kay, Select Board member. Benjamin Zoll, Select Board member. Nicholas Milano, our town administrator, is doing an awesome job and is a fairly new father. He just had a baby about, 3 months ago, 4 months ago? So, 2 months ago. Okay, great stuff. Thank you so much. Our Milton Cemetery trustee, Jim Coyne, and his board. Lisa Ahern, our Milton Cemetery superintendent. If you've not been down to the cemetery lately, take time to go down. It's an awesome place, and we're lucky to have such great people taking care of our cemetery. Our Norfolk County Commissioner, Richard Doc Stady. Our keynote speaker, U.S. Navy Captain Chris Chowder-Hill, Commanding Officer CVN 69, USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, a Quincy native. Town meeting moderator Robert Hiss. Our clergy members, the American Legion Post 114 members, Milton's Gold Star families who gave the largest sacrifice, and I can't imagine how they get through a day, knowing their sons and daughters are no longer coming home. And of course, Milton veterans and their families. Thank you very much. We'll now have welcoming remarks on behalf of the town of Milton by Select Board Chair Richard Wells.
Thank you, Kevin. It's always a windy day up here. How do you want to take the papers? Good morning. On behalf of my colleagues in local government and state government, as well as our Veteran Service Agent Officer Kevin Cook, thank you all for attending the 2024 Milton Veterans Day ceremony. To the members of Post 114, our police and fire personnel, to all the Milton Public School staff, and especially the musicians present today, our scouts, parents, residents, and most importantly, our veterans. Thank you for being here, for your presence and participation this morning. I want to extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor, United States Navy Captain Chris Hill. I had the occasion to meet Captain Hill this morning earlier at a breakfast in Randolph. And I want to say something, especially to all the young parents that are here today, especially the parents of children who are currently serving in the military or thinking of serving in the military. I can say this with certainty because I am the parent of a daughter who entered the Marine Corps, served in the military, and served in combat. Captain Hill is the type of leader that you want your child to serve under. He's the type of leader who understands a term that I often refer to, but he stated today. It's not just to lead, it's to love the people you lead, because you understand the mission that they are accomplishing on behalf of American freedom. So we are truly fortunate to have him, and I really extend our warmest welcome to him today. On Veterans Day in 1983, President Ronald Reagan stated, "The best way to honor veterans is to protect what they have won for this country, for they have never let America down." Across the globe this Veterans Day, in every state, in each U.S. territory, on the United States bases from Norfolk, Virginia to Pendleton, California, on foreign soils, on ships, carriers, submarines, American citizens and military personnel collectively are honoring the veterans who have never let America down. Last week, I had the privilege of attending an extraordinary labor of love at Milton Cemetery. For many of you, Milton Cemetery is the final resting place of 48,000 members of your family, your friends, and colleagues. One of the most significant aspects of this location is that this special place serves as the final resting place for hundreds of American veterans. Men and women who left their homes to serve in every conflict that has ever threatened our freedom. The Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Many of you present today, especially some of the high school age kids and scouts, have had the honor each year to join cemetery staff and our veterans agent and so many others at our Flags In ceremony, an endeavor which is held prior to Memorial Day, where a new American flag is placed upon the grave of each and every military veteran buried there. This year, the president of the Milton Rotary, Walter White, proposed a unique but complex service project for our community. The Rotarians who participate in the flag ceremony each spring realize that many of the veterans' grave markers at Milton Cemetery are overgrown and in too many cases no longer recognizable for the veterans and the service they have in our. This project would require the skill in many hands. Mr. White wanted to complete this fall project to bring these grave markers back to their glory and prominence before this Veterans Day. With the support of cemetery staff, the Rotary formulated a plan to locate and refurbish the military veterans' grave markers and provide a lift, returning each marker, as I stated, to the original state, befitting the final resting location of an American veteran. To complete this task, the Rotarians recruited local landscapers, contractors, college coaches, baseball players from Curry College, and many others. This is the biggest struggle of the day. If you notice the front page of this week's Milton Times, you may have seen that front page photo that depicts the project that these wonderful residents undertook. Over 50 men and women selflessly gave their time and efforts to protect these veterans and honor their service and sacrifice, just as President Reagan stated in 1982. To Walter White, the Rotarians, Coach Paul Bortolatti, the Curry baseball team, all the local businesses, Driscoll Landscape, Town Tree, Alan McGeyser Contracting, Curry Hardware, Kyle Harnish, Gerard Driscoll, Jim Davis, and many others. Thank you for doing this for the veterans of Milton. And I see that the president of the Milton Rotary is in the crowd here today. And Walter, I ask you to tip your hat and thank you. For each of them and each of you, your time and efforts here today signify not just the important sacrifice of every veteran standing here today, but more importantly, you remind all of us just how lucky we are to be Americans. Thank you to all of our veterans and service members for protecting the most sacred of American values, our freedom. Thank you all. God bless Milton. God bless America.
We'll now have our Project 351 proclamation read by Project 351 Ambassador Alyssa Zulis. Project 351 is a message that's sent out by the governor to be read in all 351 communities on a day like today, Veterans Day, simultaneously.
A proclamation. Whereas, since the Commonwealth's earliest days, thousands of men and women served our country in defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas, on November 11, 1918, after 4 years of conflict, the armistice was signed in the forests of Compiègne by the Allied nations and Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars. And whereas, since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans. And whereas in November 2024, the world will commemorate the 106th anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting of World War I at 11 a.m., November 11, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And whereas there are approximately 300,000 veterans living in Massachusetts, and whereas in recognition of the sacrifices made by those who have served our great nation, Massachusetts remains committed to supporting its veterans community through the HERO Act, honoring, empowering, and recognizing our service members and veterans. And whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions of our veterans have made to our country. And whereas we honor and salute those who have served our country throughout generations with honor, patriotism, and courage. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts residents remember the bravery of those who served their country so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now, therefore, I, Maura T. Healy, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11, 2024 to be Veterans Day, and urge all residents of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Branch in Boston, the 11th day of November, in the year 2024, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 248th, by Her Excellency Maura T. Healy, Governor of the Commonwealth, Kimberly Driscoll, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth, William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth. God bless the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
It takes a lot of courage to get up here and read and do it well, and Alyssa does a great job, and she's done this for me more than once, and I do appreciate the Zulis family coming in and stepping in because I did need her help today. So thank you very much. So what a day, Milton, huh? Look at this sunshine. This is November. I mean, I love this. And I look out and I see so many great faces. I also see our honor guards over here, our police honor guard and our fire honor guard that led the parade down, and they do so every year. Please give them a round of applause. They deserve it. These are the men and women that are defending you on a daily basis, and they help us kick off the ceremony. And standing up here on this and hearing the band and seeing them come down the street, it's the greatest thing. I love it to death. So I thank you guys, and I appreciate all you do for us. So today I want to talk about a couple quick things on Veterans Day, because we talk about veterans and all the different things. And the two items I want to talk about today are connections and experiences. And as everybody knows, when you're in the service, you have experiences and you make connections. So this weekend, I was attending a funeral for the chair of our town council in Randolph, William Exopoulos, who did pass away terribly at a young age. And at the funeral, I did meet his niece. Her name's Ellie Alex, excuse me. And she's going to the Naval Academy right now. She's a midshipman. So I made a connection with her immediately, and I said, I have somebody I want you to meet. And Captain Hill was going to be at the breakfast. So I said, come to the breakfast. You guys need to connect. And this morning, Midshipman Second Class Axel and Captain Hill got to connect. It was great. It's the awesome stuff. That's what I want to see. I want to see people connecting on that level. Same thing we do when we, get together with the kids. So one of the things I did this year was take about 100 school kids from Tucker Elementary up to the Constitution, my ship, and got them to connect with the ship and the commanding officer, Commander Crystal Shadford, the second female commanding officer, USS Constitution. It's great. We had a group of school students there, and there was about 6 or 7 young girls standing around talking to the commanding officer, and they're playing rock, paper, scissors with her. And I had this picture that went out on Everything Milton. It's everything. These young girls are looking at Commander Schaefer and going, I could be that person in the future. They're making a connection. They're also having an experience. And the reason why I took the kids to the school bus, to the Constitution on a school bus, is because that's how I went to the ship the first time, on a yellow school bus in 1970. It was amazing. 27 years later, I get to serve on the ship. So I wanted to give those kids the same experience that I had riding on a yellow school bus and going to see the ship. And it was amazing. The teachers from Tucker sent me a note about a week later and said they're still talking about it. So we obviously had an impact. And that's what you want to do, to make a connection and to give them an experience. The other experience I want to tell you about is a little tougher. I took a group of veterans from Randolph up to the American Heritage Museum this fall in Hudson, Mass. Can I have a show of hands? How many people have been here to the American Heritage Museum? Just raise your hand. In Hudson, Mass. Okay. You need to go. Okay? Make some time. Figure out a weekend. Take some time. This is a private collection of military items that was amassed by one family and now is a public museum. And there's everything there. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of the tanks and the planes and the guns and the rockets and all. It's awesome stuff. But there are 2 exhibits there that everyone here in Milton needs to see. And I implore you to take some time to go see it. The first is a wooden boxcar, a German wooden boxcar from World War II. You can walk right up to it. You lay your hand at the door, you run it across the splintery wood and the uneven surface. It is authentic to the last detail. This is a boxcar that was in Germany in World War II. I don't need to tell anyone what the boxcar was used for. As you stand at the door, and look into the darkness of that boxcar, there are suitcases lined up neatly by the door. Every school student in Massachusetts needs to go see that boxcar. It's that important. I implore you to go see it. Bring your children. Make sure they know what that car was for and what happened with that one and many others. At the same time, across the other side of the museum, in a very small corner, is a doorway. And when you step into that doorway, you are now standing inside an authentic interrogation room and cell from the Hanoi Hilton from Vietnam. It is complete. It is authentic. This is one section of the building. And you get to stand there in the interrogation room and look at the table. It's a small table. There's a chair on either side of it. When you run your hand across the table, you notice the table has 2 indents in it, in the same spot, where men's arms were held out and then beaten truncheons over and over again. It left physical dents in the table. From there, you walk out of the interrogation room and into the next room, and you stand in the cell. You actually get to experience for a few short fleeting minutes what it was like for those men to experience years of captivity in a jail cell, not knowing whether they would ever see their families again. It is amazing. It leaves an impact. And that's what we're here today to talk about, is what our veterans did, the experiences they went through, the connections they make, and the impact they leave behind. I thank you, Milton, for giving me this privilege of being able to be up here and talk to you about this, because I don't want any of them to ever be forgotten, ever. They've done too much for us. I'm sorry if I get emotional, but it's my heart. Thank you very much. So let's talk about happier things, because there are happy veteran things that happen too. And I'm going to give you a couple just now before I bring up our featured speaker. And the reason why Captain Hill is here today, he's a local guy who made good. And he's been out for the last 9 months, 9 months on station off the coast of Yemen as the commanding officer for CVN 69, USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, personally responsible for the welfare of 5,000 to 6,000 people who are on the board every day. So, somewhere in Illinois is a woman, in Illiston, let's say, and her son is damage control 3rd Classman Johnson, and he's not happy. He's having a rough week. So she sends a note to the commanding officer and says, I'm the mother of one of your ship crew, and I'm worried about him. So what does he do as the commanding officer? Well, in my CB detachment, CO would talk to XO, XO might talk to Command Master Chief, Command Master Chief might talk to the DIVO or the Division Chief, then maybe it gets down to my chief, one way or the other. Somebody helps me out, they talk to me, figure out what we need. What does Captain Hill do? He has a guy go down and get damage control 3rd Classman Johnson and bring him up to the bridge. He's probably never been on the bridge before. Now he's on the bridge. Okay, our duty station is now my command chair. Sit down. Makes him sit in the command chair. Brings over a pair of chocolate chip cookies and says, here, eat these. Your mother's worried about you. Then takes a picture of that, sends mom a quick note. He's okay. He's in my chair. He's eating cookies. He'll be fine. Boom. Unbelievable. Leadership times a million. Now mom's happy. The sailor feels valued. They've all made a connection, and morale goes through the roof. This is what he's doing every day out there on his ship. And he's got 5,000 to 6,000 people literally doing the top of their game by making sure they know he cares and he values everything that's going on his ship. It's amazing stuff. He authorized shipwide Taco Tuesday and mission patches to go along with that. So on your uniform, you get to wear a Taco Tuesday mission patch. The kids love it. It's the greatest stuff ever. So I wanted to make sure he came here today to Milton because he's the kind of leader we need you to hear from so you can understand what your people are doing out there and why it's important we salute our veterans every day. So it is my honor, privilege, to introduce my shipmate, Captain Chris Chowder Hill, Commanding Officer, CVN 69.
Thanks, Kevin. I hope everybody's Taco Tuesday is wonderful tomorrow. Today's Monday, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, I am honored to be here, blown away by the kids that are here today with the band and the choir and the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and just amazing. I was in the band and in the choir, so I respect what you guys do. And I actually, one of my biggest regrets is that I stopped playing the saxophone after college, and my dream of being in a marching band again. I don't know why. I think it'd be awesome, but keep doing what you're doing. I know some of you were forced to come here today. God bless you. I know how it is, but you get to see some good stuff. So again, thank you all for showing up today to support Veterans Day and the families of veterans. The fact that you showed up actually means a lot to me personally. It gives me hope for our incredible country and our future. My whole career, about 28 years in the Navy, I've enjoyed nothing but overwhelming support from the folks in the Boston area. I just hope this level of support continues on for veterans and active duty and their families well after me. So let's not get territorial about the fact that I'm from Quincy. From North Quincy, I was on Elliott Avenue. I was about 2 blocks from East Milton. I went there every now and then. I remember there was a 5 and dime store. Is it still there? No, they took it down. Is there Dunkin' Donuts? Yes, I'm sure there is. Right. I love that Dunkin' Donuts there. You guys are my people always, and I am yours. That's the way I look at it, and I hope I can represent you honorably during my time left in service. But I'm here on behalf of about 3,000 sailors at a mine, average age about 22. They look a lot like the kids that are here today. It's kind of freaking me out. But they come from every single state in multiple countries. It's an incredibly diverse group of warriors, and I'm so proud of them. So I'd like to tell the story of them today and how they, as an underdog crew on the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, most of whom had never deployed before, about 75% of the ship hadn't deployed, and how they changed their culture just in time for one of the most challenging deployments in the U.S. Navy since World War II. It's a story about leadership, about sailor grit, rising to the occasion. It's about, all those tropes they say about the younger generation. You just throw that out into the garbage. That is not true at all, okay? These guys and girls are warriors. So I took over the Eisenhower about 1.5 years ago, about 8 months before a 9-month deployment where we were fighting the Houthi rebels in Yemen pretty much every day. The crew that had deployed had done back-to-back deployments during COVID, which was awful. They never saw a real port call. A lot of people joined the military for 1,000 reasons, but among them is to get to see the world, and they didn't get to see too much of it. This was followed by a shipyard period in 2022 that didn't go well. The ship came out in worse shape than it went in, and there were multiple inspections that just didn't go well at that point. So morale was pretty low, and people spoke of the ship using terms like, this is cell block 69. And then there was one sailor who was in boot camp. She graduated, and she got selected for the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, and she smiled, and everyone started laughing at her, and so she cried. So the ship had been rowed pretty hard. Re-enlistment rates were fairly low. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little bit old school about this, but I personally believe that improving morale, it's a term that is misunderstood and overused, can still make a difference. Morale is not happiness, though. It's something much deeper. It's spirit, pride, motivation, grit. The civilian equivalent term might be job satisfaction. Those organizations that have morale tend to succeed in many areas. For us, that would be inspections and combat. I think he's saying hello to us. Okay. For the veterans in the room, I think you know what I'm talking about. We've all worked for awful organizations in our lives. Some good, some bad, though. But The key difference there had something to do with morale. In fact, our ship's namesake, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, said that morale is the greatest single factor in successful war. And other great generals have said very similar things. So if morale is the thing that tips the scale in terms of success or in combat, don't you think we should be doing something about it? Don't you think that we should become the masters at creating morale? So in 2023, we tried to do that, sort of like an experiment. I introduced a philosophy called the Way of the Warrior Sailor. It was way too long. It was 26 pages, and people said, no one's going to read it. It's too long, but sailors read it. And in there, I argued that morale can be created by leaders if you truly love and value your people. And then you have to give them mission and purpose. It talks about how to improve sailor recognition, how to improve communications through rapid, relentless, repetitive, positive communications. We coined the term R3P for that. It talks about mission and vision, and I declared there that we were the best damn ship in the Navy, and we went ahead and said it, even though maybe it wasn't true at the time, but we had to believe it. But keep in mind that the ship and the Navy is the people. And my people had the fire to improve their culture. They just needed leaders to guide them there. And for those that didn't follow the philosophy, they were held accountable. So there's a dark side to this. But anyway, we saw improved inspection results, improved re-enlistments, and a decrease in destructive behaviors and improved mental health. So morale works if you allow it to infect people and enforce it. So then everything was trending positively in 2023, and then October 7th happened, and Hamas invaded Israel, killing 1,200 people, including 40 Americans, and taking more than 250 hostages. Ladies and gentlemen, we're America. We're not going to just stand by and let our allies get stomped on. So we had to do something. So on the ship, we deployed a week later on October 14th, 2023, with Carrier Air Wing 3. We had more than 68 aircraft and 5,000 sailors aboard. Sorry, no Marines this time. I know I saw a few Marines out there. Booyah. And we were given orders to make the best speed to the Eastern Med, to link up with the Gerald R. Ford, which is one of our newest aircraft carriers. We took a photo with them. It was great, and that's for deterrence. But ultimately, around this time, the Houthis started launching missiles at civilian ships and trying to sink them. And so we were basically sent back into the Red Sea on December 31st. So as we're going through the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, we just call it the BAM, we're going through the BAM into the Red Sea. We watched the USS Gravely, one of our destroyers, shoot down 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles right off our port bow while we were receiving a distress signal from another merchant vessel called the Maersk Hanzu that was getting harassed by 3 Houthi small boats. And so we launched our alert helicopters to go check it out. They got shot at, and they ended up sinking all of those small boats with Hellfire missiles and saved that ship. Thus began another 6.5 months of action against Houthi forces to degrade their capability, with our implied mission, which was to save people's lives. I can't really speak to the specifics of everything that happened due to time, and the fact that operations are still ongoing there and some of it's classified, but I can make a few general observations. First, there were very few days where something did not happen, whether it was a Houthi missile or weaponized drone firing on military or civilian ships, including us, or Houthi small boats threatening somebody, or our forces finding targets and destroying them, or launching large force strikes from my ship to take out multiple targets. The Houthis initially attempted to inundate us with large drone swarms, and they failed to hit any of our ships, thank goodness. And we're really good at offense, but we're really, really good at defense as well. Second thing I could say is that the strike group, as we call it, which was my ship plus 4 destroyers and a cruiser, took out a lot of targets. I'm talking about shooting down well more than 100 attack drones, which are about the size of this platform here, most of which were had warheads in their nose cones. A few dozen ballistic and cruise missiles we shot down, plus a couple dozen small boats, and those were also remotely operated with warheads in them. We also destroyed hundreds of land targets. I won't go down the list. But for my ship, when we weren't flying our normal flight operations, which is 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, the 7th day is a maintenance day, but also a work day. So nonstop work for months on end. We also launched 150 alert aircraft at pop-up threats. It was definitely the busiest deployment of my 28 and a half years, but there was a lot of pride in that, I think. It gave us mission and purpose. Like I said, that produces morale. And I'm very happy to report that these young sailors absolutely slayed. Never missing a beat, never hesitating, never really freaking out. It's what we trained to do over and over and over, and people of all ages just did their jobs. Having said that, my third point, it was still a tough deployment for a lot of people. And that's the same for any deployment. The veterans know what I'm talking about. But for us in the Southwest Asia and Middle East, the outside air temperature was always greater than 110 degrees. The water temperature was 91 degrees, which made it nearly impossible to cool the ship down, so people had trouble sleeping due to the heat. Stuff would break that we couldn't fix because we didn't have a port call to fix it, and I couldn't shut down the associated systems. So in any case, it wasn't until the 7th month of deployment that the crew were given the go to do a port call, so we could give a few days off for them and then actually fix stuff. In fact, the average crew member did not get more than 6 days off the ship in 9 months. Just remember that statistic when you hear about the youth of the day and what they're capable of. And right now, I don't think I'm selling the Navy very well, am I? Okay, but the fourth point, despite everything going on, the ship was subjected to more inspections. Yes, we all know what these are in the military. I know it sounds crazy, but at the end of the day, these inspections were built into the life cycle of the ship, and it's better to get them done. I don't care if you're in a combat zone, just get them done so you don't have to do them when you get home and everyone's scattered to the winds and going on leave. But I'm happy to report that we crushed all the inspections. In fact, one of our annual nuclear reactor inspections, they got the best score in 10 years. And so I have 480 sailors that work on these 2 nuclear reactors that we have. I got 19-year-olds operating, control rods. And what planet do we live on? We allow 19-year-olds to operate nuclear reactors. Well, we do in the United States Navy. It's amazing. But their leadership did a good job of embracing the way of the warrior sailor. It made a difference. 5th point, not everything was perfect. Morale for some dropped. It dropped for me sometimes as we got extended and people didn't know when they were coming home. So when morale fails, we have our resiliency resources to get people back on their feet and into the fight. And I think we're getting better in the military at dealing with mental health. Some would say we're a little late, but at least we're pushing forward, we're trying. We threw the kitchen sink at the problem. Before deployment, we added a civilian therapist, we had an active duty licensed clinical social worker, we had a psychologist, we had 10 chaplains in the strike group. I actually had 5 on my ship, 1 for every 1,000 people, to try to help things out. We even had a facility dog. His name was Demo. He was cute, 2 years old, Labrador Retriever. So his job was just to walk around and basically sniff people and request snacks. And so unfortunately, at the end of the deployment, he had gained 15 pounds, and I got in trouble for that. Okay. But I love the guy. He was my best friend. We added a USO center, which I'd never seen on a deployed ship. And we had Wi-Fi for the whole crew, which was cosmic. It helped people connect with their external support network in ways I'd never seen before. People able to talk to their family on demand. And I use Wi-Fi for social media as a side hobby to highlight what sailors were doing. Kevin talked a little bit about that, but it was to connect with the families, because at one point I realized that if I can get the families to work for me, it'll make my job a lot easier, right? Because if you're having a bad day, you don't always want to go to your shipmate or your boss. You want to go to mom or dad, and so they're on my team. So in closing, I'll share one story that I think highlights the culture of the crew I want to talk about, where morale, I believe, helped that crew succeed over and over in this environment, despite the adversity, the awful heat, the combat operations, the lack of rest and relaxation for months on end. The veterans get it, but there's so many leaders up and down the ranks that did their part to keep people motivated and positive. It was remarkable. But on June 12th of this year, just a few months ago, we were about to depart the Red Sea. The Houthis decided to ram a motor vessel, a merchant ship with an unmanned surface vessel. Big explosion. They hit the stern, impacted their engine room, and killed one of the merchant mariners in the engine room there. The ship was sinking. And so the remaining 24 mariners, they were all Filipinos. They put out a distress signal requesting assistance, and multiple ships just drove right past with various flags on them. Did not respond at all, but the U.S. Navy responded. The USS Philippine Sea happened to be in the area. They sent over their helicopters, picked up each one of those mariners, and then transported them to my ship later that day. So I was on the bridge doing some other operations, and I can't remember what it was, but my security professionals came up and said, "Sir, we'll take care of them. We have our detainee instruction here." I said, "Whoa, hold on a second. These are not detainees. These are civilians that just lost their ship. They lost one of their buddies. Let's just take care of them." That's the only direction I gave, and I kind of hoped for the best. But a couple hours went by as the diplomatic churn was going on to get them back. They needed visas or something. I went down to our training classroom where we were keeping them, and I kind of wondered what the results were. But I heard singing in a foreign language, and it turns out they were singing in Tagalog. It's because one of my sailors, who happened to be able to speak Tagalog, gathered up all the other Filipino Navy sailors on my ship and said, "Let's help this crew out. Let's make them feel at home. Let's hang out with them." We had a Catholic chaplain there who was also from the Philippines, holding court over in the corner. I saw nothing but smiles despite all the bad stuff that had happened to them. And they were all wearing Eisenhower ball caps. That was like a public relations coup. I don't know where those caps came from, but I was very proud of my sailors there. And then as they were leaving the ship, I was fist bumping every one of them. Smiles again. I'll tell you, I've never had an experience like that before. We very rarely get to meet the people that we're trying to save. So that day I was super proud to be an American. I was proud of my sailors for doing all the right things. I was proud of their creativity and grit, and I see it, you all see it, in your children, the capability that we have. And now I'm here to tell their story. And I share this story on Veterans Day so more people will know what service means and who's doing that serving. So finally, I just want to thank all those who did serve, especially their families and supporters too, and the sacrifices that you make. I just hope that we in the active duty never let you down. Thank you. God bless.
We'll now have the Armed Forces Medley by Milton High School Marching Band and Chorus. When you hear your veterans, when you hear your service highlighted, stand and salute.
So guys, I need a split to be able to see Miss Deep's here. Sean, this other way. Yeah, I need to see it.
United States Army.
First you fight for the right to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fights until the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along.
job. Amazing job by our chorus and band. Thank you so much. The students put so much time and effort into making sure that they can be here for us at our ceremonies, and I deeply appreciate all the work you do. We're going to have a moment of silence in memory of our POWs and MIAs. As I told you before, I was in the Hanoi Hilton cell that's up in the museum. I can't think of a tougher thing for one of our fighting members to be over there and to be lost. Our nation is committed to making sure that every missing and held person is accounted for, and we are still receiving remains every day. We're down to under 1,600 members of our fighting forces missing in action from Vietnam, which is an amazing number, and they are going to such great lengths to find all the remains, identify them, so the families know and understand where their loved ones are. So I ask you to bow your heads and think for a minute about our POWs and MRAs, please. Thank you. Now my pleasure to introduce State Senator Walter Timothy as State Senator for the last time. He'll be our clerk of courts going forward. There's been no greater supporter for us in this legislature than Senator Timothy, and he's there for us whenever we need it, and I know that we can count on the same from Senator-elect Driscoll, from Rep. Fluker Oakley, and of course our new Rep. Richard G. Wells. So please, I'm now present to introduce State Senator Walter Timothy.
I believe it's good afternoon now. Good afternoon, and thank you very much. First of all, we are here to honor the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. These brave and honorable veterans have willingly and proudly answered the call of duty, protecting the liberty and freedoms that you and I enjoy as citizens of the United States of America. I would also suggest that many nations around the globe that live under the blanket of protection of the United States military also enjoy the very same freedoms that we enjoy. So to our veterans, thank you. I'd like to ask each and every veteran who's here with us today, if you could please raise your hand, just to indicate that you are a veteran. Thank you. A big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. You have protected us with your service, and you honor us with your presence. And I understand that, and I thank you at our Milton Police Honor Guard from the Fire Honor Guard and our Police Honor Guard. I know some of you are veterans and you're standing at attention now, so thank you to our Police and Fire. And of course, thank you to our magnificent Milton High Marching Band and Milton High Chorus. And to our Scouts for being here today to honor the very best amongst us, our veterans. So today we recognize our veterans' valor and sacrifices. For this very reason, Veterans Day is one of the most important days on our national calendar. To be clear, we are honoring the women and men of our Army, our Navy, our Marine Corps, our Air Force, our Coast Guard, our National Guard, and most recently our Space Force. We say thank you. We say thank you to our veterans. We say thank you to our active duty members who are here with us today. Captain, thank you. You're an inspiration to us all. We say thank you for putting on that uniform, for standing your post and putting yourself in harm's way for our great nation. The dedicated women and men of the United States military believe in a mission greater than themselves. They are willing to put their lives on the line for both you and for me, rising above themselves for the sake of others each and every day. To quote Alexander Hamilton, there is a certain enthusiasm in liberty that makes human nature rise above itself in acts of bravery and heroism. When you look back at the magnificent history of the United States Armed Forces, the finest armed forces that the world has ever witnessed, we must never forget the distinguished service and noble sacrifice that are a hallmark of our service members. We remember in this date the termination of hostilities in World War I, the war to end all wars. So let us remember General Pershing's American Expeditionary Force, the Marines that triumphed at Belleau Woods, the storied Army's 3rd Infantry Division that prevailed at the Marne. Moreover, we must never forget the Union soldiers that fought to rid a nation of the scourge of slavery and save our Union. Neither will we ever forget the sailors, soldiers, Marines, members of the Coast Guard, and Army Air Corps that valiantly repelled a surprise attack on December 7, 1941, launching the United States into World War II. A day, as President Roosevelt said, will live in infamy. In addition, let us remember the Army Air Corps and the B-17 air crews of the 8th Air Force that pummeled Hitler's and Nazi Germany with daylight precision bombing, when it would have been much safer to bomb at night. And let us also remember the veterans of the Korean War that fought in the first ever United Nations police action to repel communist aggression. Furthermore, may we always keep in the forefront of our mind the millions of service members who fought communist aggression in the Vietnam War. And finally, we pay tribute to our veterans who have served in the Gulf War, all of our wars on terrorism in both Afghanistan and Iraq, in each and every instance. In Iraq, Lebanon, Afghanistan, Syria, the Horn of Africa, Somalia, the Philippines, the high seas around the globe with the finest Navy the world has ever seen, the United States Navy, and countless other locations that we will never know about. The members of our armed forces have always served with distinction, fidelity, and valor. To our veterans for these virtues and many other reasons, we will always be in your debt. We also will always take time to both honor and support our Gold Star families whose loved ones have made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our great nation. In each and every case, our protectors in the American military embody bravery, integrity, and an unwavering willingness to sacrifice. Thank you to our veterans and our Gold Star families. God bless them all. God bless your families. And God bless this great nation of ours. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
We'll now have a closing prayer by Reverend Shelley Davis, East Congregational Church, United Church of Christ. There will be no America the Beautiful afterwards. I guess the band didn't have that number ready, so after Reverend Davis's prayer, we will close our ceremony.
When I find the good words of others that I like to share, I want to give credit where credit is due. So these words, many of them are from Laurelyn Bellamy, but I think they fit this moment. If here you have found freedom, take it with you to the world. If you have found honor, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. O God of many names, lover of all nations, we pray for peace in our hearts, in our homes, in our nation, in our world. The peace of your will, the peace of our need. When I had the opportunity to do the service, the graveside service for my late father, who was an Army veteran, I held it together really, really well until they started to play taps. Now, I was a Girl Scout for many years, and I know the first verse of taps. Until today, I never knew the third verse. So I will close with the third verse of taps. Thanks and praise for our days, 'neath the sun, 'neath the stars, 'neath the sky. As we go, this we know, God is nigh.
Again, let me express my deep, deep appreciation for the people of Milton for all you do. Today is 20 years ago, the Battle of Fallujah. And I got up this morning and I actually looked at my uniform hanging in the closet and I said, you know what? I'm going to try to put that on. And amazingly so, I could get into my uniform that I wore 20 years ago today in Fallujah. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to continue to serve my fellow veterans and our community. It is the honor of my lifetime, and I appreciate you all being here today on a warm and beautiful day. Go out and enjoy the day. It was won for you by veterans. Thank you.
Here we go.